Alright, what's up everybody? This is Dockside, and coming at you with a new video here. For those who do not know me, I am Dockside, obviously. I'm actually one of the founders of Clan GCB, Glass Cannon Build, which is a group of demon hunters who specialize at playing ranged. So with that said, this is actually a new build that I came up with that I do not have a name for. So towards the end of the video, when you get back to the forums and you look at the thread, you can help me with some suggestions and names and stuff like that for it, because I have no idea what to call it. But I think it's pretty awesome. One thing I do want to note is that this build is really not too great for mana core users, although you can use a mana core with it. It is definitely the best, in my opinion, with a Calamity, and it's really not bad at all with the Wind Force or a two-hand bow. And I'll kind of get into more explanation there with it. Not saying the mana core is just is bad with this. Is that there are way better mana core builds out there that would take advantage of its power. And this build technically doesn't really do that as well. One thing I do want to mention is that this is more of an educational video, not necessarily a speed farming video or a quick run video or anything like that. So I'm going to have to go through details because often when I'm doing write-ups of my builds, I get asked questions. Well, how do you do that? Why do you do that? What are your order of attacks? Why is this effective, etc. So I figured doing a video would make things a lot easier for you to actually see in person what I'm really doing and how I'm really doing it. So with that said, going on to my skills, I'm using Hungry and Arrow, Spray of Teeth, Spike Trap, Scatter, Shadow Power, Shadow Glide, Mark for Death, Grim Reaper, Rain of Vengeance, Dark Cloud, and Spitfire Turret. And I'm also running all of the damage passives here. Now, of course, for those who know me, this is generally how I do things. Technically, I'm only running one defensive skill. I would not recommend anyone else really do that. But this is just my choice here. And then towards the end of the video, I can kind of sort of give you variations of things you can do to alter this a bit. The main things you really would need in this would be Hungry and Arrow, Spike Traps, and Sentry, and probably Dark Cloud. I'll explain more information why this skill is very important later. But the one important thing to really note with the skill set here is that all my skills here do black damage. Now, why is this important? I don't have a slow in any of these builds, but I have Cold the Weak starter here, which means in order to take advantage of that, I have to use a cold damage Stun of Jordan, which here I have a Hungry and Arrow one. I also have a Hungry and Arrow quiver and the Spike Traps chest. Spike Traps chest isn't really as important, although it is a great bonus to have. But the biggest thing here is making sure that you have a Hungry and Arrow Stun of Jordan, cold damage, as well as a Hungry and Arrow quiver here for this to be really effective. Now, as you see, I lost a ton of paper DPS going into the Stun of Jordan from my rare ring, which is pretty awesome. However, I've noticed that I've been doing more EDPS against whites than I was in my rare ring, and I'll actually kind of demonstrate it here. With my Stun of Jordan on, these are what my numbers look like. And I'll try not to step too much so I don't cause any seizures here. So you see quite a few 480s, 390s, a couple of 500k crits, and then they spray roughly between 170 to 230k for the spray whenever it crits. It's not bad. Then I throw on my rare ring. I don't have cold activated because obviously there's no cold. And even with my really strong rare ring, my damage is pretty close and pretty similar, but I'm actually doing just slightly less crit damage than I was whenever I was wearing my Cold Stunner Jordan. Okay, so I like to demonstrate that there. One thing that makes using Hungering Arrow here really great with the Calamity, especially Spray of Teeth, is the fact that it's one of the very few skills that actually scale with our attack speed somewhat. But it's also one of the very few skills that actually really scale with our crit chance in a great way. So basically, with the archery bonus, you get 10% crit chance, which makes Spray of Teeth even more effective, which is very good for ranged demon hunters. So, with that said, that's pretty much the basis of Hungering Arrow, Spray of Teeth. Most of everything else you guys already know. On to Spy Traps, which is kind of sort of a bigger topic here. I'm choosing Scatter over the very, very, very popular Echoing Blast for several reasons. One, Scatter does, is black damage. So, of course, if it's black damage, I'm going to be able to proc cold. It's not 100k crit. 1 mil crit there. So I'm able to proc cold in a pretty large area, which gives me a ton of utility, as well as pretty decent damage along with the Spike Traps chest. So basically, I can forego the rare ring completely for Stunner Jordan for more effective EDPS for both skills. So, which is something that Echoing Blast can't do, because Echoing Blast does not has poison damage. So of course it doesn't proc cold. One thing here, as a ranged demon hunter, that I prefer Scatter over Echoing Blast is basically with Echoing Blast you have to pray to the enemy and beg him to stand in the blast for 3.2 seconds. And if you're not tanking, or if you're not using Bullet Shot Thunder Ball to stun a single target over Echoing Blast, Echoing Blast is really not that efficient, nor is it going to really help you. It's going to probably frustrate you more than anything else. Because chances of you getting any elites, or even some whites to really stand an Echoing Blast long enough for it to deal its damage is very highly unlikely. So, but with Scatter though, I had the opportunity to deal its damage, all of its damage, in 1.2 seconds, and then pretty much I'm done with it. Another reason why I like Scatter too is that it's very, very, very hatred efficient. Okay, here I can basically plant one down, throw about 4 or 5 Hungering Arrows. By the time it blows up, if you look at my hatred bar here, I'm nearly back to full hatred when it explodes. So basically, the skill is practically almost free, at my attack speed, that is. So I can do this all day, and technically really never really run out of hatred. The only time in which I'm going to really see a dip in my hatred is when I start using sentries. Other than that, if I just use Spike Traps and shot every 5-6 times with my Hungering Arrow, I would never run out of hatred, which is great, I think. Two, another thing that I kind of sort of see Spike Trap users do a little bit of too is, let's say I did that. Like I just did a really poor cast of Spike Traps, and I'm like, man, I sucked just now. That was terrible. Like, how could I ever do something that stupid? Well, instead of waiting, let's see, I'm gonna get them over here. Instead of waiting for the guys to cross the bombs, I was like 10, 11 seconds later, I could have easily planted like 6 or 7 more traps in that time period. Then, waiting for them to get across to come across my really bad Spike Traps placement here. So if I screw up, and I know I screw up, or I screwed up there, I'm not going to wait for them to come across. If I know they're not going to really, get hit with it, I'll just recast it again. And because it is very hatred efficient, then missing is really not a problem. Yeah, it's bad for the miss, but once you do recast it again, it's really not a problem because it's technically still free. So again, to fully take advantage of scatter here, I cast it with good positioning. Once the bombs blow up, recast it again. And that's how you really get the most out of spike traps in a generalized group here. So anyway, so that's that. Another cool thing you can do with the spike trap scatter too, especially when you're fighting against elites, is you can learn how to actually place them sideways. So let's say you're fighting an elite and they're coming from the top here, and I'm stepping down, they're doing whatever, and then I plant spike traps like this. In most cases, unless they're coming from this side here or this side here, they're going to only usually hit about 2 bombs. But if I really want to be smart about it, I can actually step and place sideways. Oh, there you go, sideways, and have the elites run over all 3 bombs as I'm stepping back. Bad placement there. And pretty much have them step back all across these 3 bombs as I'm stepping back. So basically, you're almost guaranteed for all 3 of them to actually go off. So that's also a pretty cool technique. That pretty much wraps up my my rant about spike trap scatter here. Next is going into turrets. Turrets has always been a pretty big staple in any of my builds. It just does a lot of damage by itself and is something I don't have to think about. It can pretty much clear content on its own, given it enough time to do so. And of course, this is without Cold Weak activated. Turrets do take advantage of all your buffs or whatever too as well. But see, turrets really aren't that bad. So that's turrets in the nutshell. Nothing too particular about that. Random Vengeance Dark Cloud. Now this is the one that I kind of want to spend a little bit of time on. I like it for 2 things. Again, it's free. It deals damage. I don't have to really, stop what I'm doing to cast it, or whatever like that. It just happens. So it deals constant damage around me. It follows me, so it's pretty easy to use. It should be really easy to use, and I can snapshot it. Now, snapshotting it is probably the biggest use here, and it allows me to only use 1 defensive skill that you see down here. Without it, I'll be forced to either use Preparation or Vault or even Smokescreen or even, slot Night Stalker. But because I have Rain of Vengeance, for the most part, I can do things that I normally would not be able to do. So, snapshotting is foremost the more important thing here. So, I'm going to have to get hit. Not too hard, hopefully, because, of course, I'm a glass cannon, so. Alright. Alright, come on now, really. Come on. You can do it. You can do it. There we go. Alright, good. So, I got hit. So, now I'm going to pop Shadow Power Glide, and in about the 4th second, I'm going to pop Random Vengeance. So therefore, as you see, I'm getting the lifesteal back as... Well, I'm not really getting hit right now, but as you saw, I was getting the 11 to 12 seconds worth of lifesteal from Random Vengeance from being able to snapshot that. Let me see if I can get a better example of that in a second. Wait for the cooldown. Okay, here we go. So you see, as long as I can take 1 hit and I'm walking around and whatever like that. Take another hit somewhere. Up. Too much. I got a little crazy with that there. I'm a noob. Okay, so going back here again. So every time I get hit once, like that, I'm pretty much, for the most part, instantly healed back to full life for 12 seconds. So that allows me to use shadow power a lot less, because my Rain of Vengeance is not only is it playing as an offensive skill, it's also playing as a defensive skill, and it's very useful for stuff like Vortex and Frozen when you have absolutely no control over your Demon Hunter and you need to take that one vital hit several times. You can do that as long as you snapshot Rain of Vengeance, and you just have that extra defense. So very useful against those crazy affixes that really annoys the hell out of ranged Demon Hunter players. And I will tell you now that it has saved my life tons of times. So if used correctly, it is one of your ultimate defensive skills that you have as a ranged Demon Hunter. Mark of Death, for the most part, is pretty self-explanatory. It just adds more damage, as you already know. I use Shadow Power Glide because I like not only do I like the life steal, obviously, but I also like to be able to escape situations pretty quickly. Not really a fan of Gloom. I play to really try not to get hit anyway, so Gloom doesn't really help me in that instance because I'm trying not to get hit to begin with. But that's just personal preference. So going on to more so of the skill set again, if you had to get rid of any of these, for more of a safe style of play, you can always do get rid of Grim Reaper. Would be the first one to go. You can do Preparation, Vault, Smokescreen, etc. And if you have to, if you absolutely have to, you can get rid of Steady Aim. I know a lot of people don't like it. I personally love it. But you can get rid of Steady Aim. You can do Night Stalker instead to keep your discipline, filled up quite a bit. Definitely some variations here, but probably the most important things would be Spray of Teeth, Scatter, and Turret here. And you can also even go with Guardian Turret if you want, in case you do get pulled in. You get Vortex, or they teleport to you, and the Sentry's not on cooldown. You can throw down a Guardian Turret, you get that 15% damage reduction. Be able to take a hit that you might not have been able to take had you not had it. So that's another option there for you too. For the most part, that is it. Again, like I said, I don't really have a name for this build. You guys want to come up with any suggestions in the actual thread, I am open to any and all suggestions for what it could be called. For those who want to try this out, or even want to even run with me with it, or see how it really works out, because unfortunately I have a lot of lag, so I really can't record a full run and do it efficiently, or do it nicely, or do it the way that I normally would be able to do it if I wasn't recording. I'm getting an SSD drive pretty soon. Hopefully that will fix that issue and I can do some real cool recordings, but unfortunately now I really can't. So feel free to add me. I can do a run with you. If you're really interested in trying to do something like this, I will even gift you a Cold Stone of Jordan ring. Obviously not a 30% versus the least one, but maybe somewhere between 25 and 26%, something not too expensive. So if you're just starting out, I recommend between 25% bonus versus ease, and higher. You go 29%, 30%, you're looking to pay a huge amount for it. I got lucky through bid and got mine for about $250 mil, which is really cheap comparing to what the ring really costs. So, but anyways, that's really the basis of the build here. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Feel free to comment. Feel free to let me know if there's anything else you want to see, you want to know, I can do, etc. And other than that, happy DHing. Thanks for watching.